During brunch, Mom announced, "Your sister's inheriting the house. She's the one who'll actually settle down here." Dad added, "You've always just been visiting." I nodded quietly, replaying every bill and repair I'd covered for them over the years. That night, I closed every account under my name. By Thursday, their mortgage bounced, and my sister's moving truck never showed up. "Why can't you just be happy for your sister for once?" Mom's voice cracked across the dining room like glass shattering. Dad didn't even look at me. He just kept cutting his pancakes, muttering, "You've always been the outsider, Ethan. You don't build anything here, you just visit." Across the table, my sister, Lila, all polished smiles and practiced pity, shrugged. "You know how Dad feels. I'm the one staying close. It just makes sense I get the house." The fork slipped from my hand and clattered on the plate. My coffee went cold as I stared at them, the family that once called me the responsible one. Now I was just an inconvenience. Mom sighed dramatically. "You've been quiet this whole time. Are you going to say anything?" I looked up, voice low but steady. "Yeah," I said. "Just wondering how you'll pay the mortgage once my name's off it." Her smile faltered. The air went heavy. No one spoke after that. "My name's Ethan Vale. I'm 28, work in tech, and I've spent most of my adult life paying off debts that weren't mine. They used to call me the good son, the one who fixed the roof, replaced the furnace, covered the taxes when Dad forgot. But being the good son in this family was like pouring water into a cracked glass. No matter how much I gave, it always leaked out. I wasn't loud, never have been. I watched, I remembered. And somewhere in that silence, I started seeing the truth no one wanted to say out loud. The house they're fighting over? I paid for most of it, quietly, in installments. While they smiled in family photos and talked about someday giving back, someday never came. And maybe that's what they never understood. Silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes it's the sound of a storm gathering. The family, snapshots. Dad, Richard Vale, 57, the kind of man who spoke in finalities. Always right, even when he wasn't. He carried pride like a weapon, and if you didn't bleed, he didn't think you were listening. Mom, Diane. Soft voice, sharp eyes. Played the victim like a symphony. She'd say, "You know how hard it is for me." And suddenly your anger turned into guilt. Lila, 25, my sister, the golden one. She could crash a car, lie about it, and still be called sweet. She didn't earn trust. She borrowed it on my name. As they sat across from me that morning, I saw it clear. They weren't discussing a house. They were assigning loyalty. Dad leaned back, smirking. "You never planned to settle here anyway, Ethan. You're always somewhere else." I met his stare. Maybe because this place never felt like home. Lila laughed softly. "There you go again, being dramatic." I didn't answer, because deep down she knew I wasn't. By afternoon, the conversation turned ugly. Lila waved the inheritance papers like a trophy. "It's what Mom and Dad want. You don't even like this neighborhood." I said nothing. My jaw locked, hands steady. Dad added, "You act like you've been wronged, Ethan, but you've had it easy. We supported you when you moved out. You owe us some peace." Peace. That was his word for silence. They didn't know I had every receipt, every bill, every repair I paid for. I'd covered 3 years of mortgage payments when Dad's account overdrafted, fixed the wiring that almost set the kitchen on fire, even paid off the property tax so the house wouldn't be auctioned. But now they were giving it all to Lila. Then Lila said it. Careless, cruel. You helped because you wanted to. Nobody asked you to be a hero. And that's when I realized they weren't stealing from me. They were rewriting the story to erase me. The silence after that felt alive. Mom started crying, but even her tears sounded rehearsed. "Don't ruin this day with your bitterness, Ethan." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. We're done discussing this." I looked at him, calm. "You're right. We are." The way I said it made him pause. Lila rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. What are you going to do? Move to another city and pretend we don't exist?" I smiled faintly. Something like that. For the first time, they looked uncertain, because I wasn't shouting, I wasn't begging, I was done. 2 years ago, Dad had a heart scare. The hospital bills stacked fast. Insurance didn't cover everything, so I drained my savings. Money meant for my first home. Mom hugged me, whispering, "We'll pay you back, sweetheart." They never did. Months later, Lila posted vacation pictures from Miami. Dad got a new truck. Mom threw a birthday dinner with catered food. I sat at the corner of that table, smiling, pretending not to feel invisible. That was the first night I realized love in this family came with conditions, and silence became my armor. Thursday night, I checked the joint accounts. My name was still linked to the mortgage, property tax, and utilities. Every auto payment ran through me. They hadn't even noticed, so I closed everything. Quietly, cleanly, no confrontation, no message. By Friday morning, their mortgage bounced. Their credit alerts flooded in. Lila's moving truck never arrived. The sale was frozen. Then Dad called, voice shaking for the first time in my life. "Ethan, what the hell did you do?" I just said, "I stopped pretending we were a family," and hung up. 2 days later, Mom showed up at my apartment. No makeup, no control. "Ethan, please, you can't just walk away from us." I opened the door wider. "You walked away first. You just called it inheritance." She started to cry again, real this time. "We thought you'd understand." "I did," I interrupted. "That's why I left before you could say it twice." Behind her, Dad stood by the car, staring at the ground like he couldn't face his own reflection. That night, I deleted our family group chat. Years of photos, jokes, fake apologies, gone. The house they called ours was suddenly just theirs, and for once it felt like justice. Weeks passed. The silence that used to feel heavy felt peaceful now. I started sleeping better, cooking for myself, laughing again. There was no guilt when my phone stayed quiet. Lila sent a message once. "Hope you're happy. You ruined everything." I typed back, "No. I just stopped funding the lie." Then blocked her. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. Last Sunday, I drove past the house. Paint peeling, yard overgrown. The "for sale" sign leaned sideways. I parked for a moment, windows down. The place looked smaller than I remembered. I didn't feel hate, just distance. Like closing a book I'd read too many times, I whispered, "You can keep the walls. I've got my peace." The wind moved through the trees, soft and kind and like something letting go. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not revenge, just learning how to breathe without waiting for permission. If you were in my place, would you forgive them or would you walk away forever? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your truth. If Ethan's story hit something inside you, like if you've ever carried someone else's silence. Comment if you've ever been the one they blamed just for being honest. Subscribe for more stories about family, pain, and finding peace on your own terms. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who already knows how the story ends.